Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the World Explorer podcast. This is the podcast where every week we take a random prompt and build an entire world around it. My name is Casey, I'm joined with Isaac, and this week we also have a guest star, my good friend Gfdx, who we just call GF.
Hello.
Who's actually going to be the prompt master for this week's episode. So take it away.
Yeah, I'm just taking the back seat this time.
Yeah, get back down there. Okay, bye. Okay, so hi. I am Gfdx, friend of Casey and Isaac, and I have a D&D campaign. And during the first session, we decided to link the D&D languages to the real languages. That was fun, like, hey, German dwarves, French elves. But someone decided it was a good idea to give the language Infernal, so the ones of demons, to America, because we're Europeans and we were joking about the political situation there. Eventually, I had to improvise for a name for the Fire Realm, and I quickly said Arizona. And thus I got to a project where I decided that every US state was going to become a demon realm. And that's where we are now. I got an entire list, but I also got these two people thinking with me.
So
Hey.
we're turning America into hell.
I am going to make a disclaimer. Just a disclaimer. This is for fun, not to antagonize every US citizen, because I'm not going to be able to fight a war against the US. Because the reasons I have for giving states a specific situation is not always the people itself, but also just random stuff like weather, personal interest, or just a random fact I googled, or a word joke. Those exist.
Well, you're with two Americans, so it's perfectly okay that we insult America here, because you're doing it with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even in Europe it's fine, because we like doing that, I suppose. And I got dark humor.
So, each state being sort of its own circle of hell,
Pretty much.
immediately my thought went to everything's bigger in Texas. Now, what horrendous thing could we have from Texas that is absolutely massive that tortures people?
Environmental ruination. That is what I've chosen, because I know there were a lot of oil pipes over in Texas, and I thought it'd be demons do bad things, so why not burn down 20 forests a day?
I'm trying to picture that, just giant machines, lots of smoke and smell. I don't associate that. I've never really associated that with Texas,
Yeah.
which is interesting. I've always associated the cowboy motif, and the Alamo and all that stuff, and the Lone Rangers.
Well, that's fair. You've got to realize that I don't know what parts of the US are the Wild West specifically, and when thinking of stuff, I thought, hey, environmental ruination is a very demon thing to do. So, hey, what states produce a lot of oil? California and Texas are the states I can think of, and for
California produced no oil.
Hmm?
I didn't think California was producing oil, because they're very much against oil.
They're hypocrites.
Well,
Sorry.
I think it depends on the time in the history. I said.
That's true.
You also have to keep in mind, Texas is not your average state. Texas is big enough to be its own country.
And it acts like it's its own country.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be producing more oil because it's several times larger than any other state out there.
It's also the only state that's I don't care what the government's regulations on this stuff is. We need oil, so we're going to make oil.
Yeah. But I got a different state for revolution, separation, and their own stuff, so Texas just got the oil.
Fair enough. So, do you have, the Western motif, the cowboy?
Actually, just looking at the list I have, I actually don't.
That's interesting.
The closest thing to Wild West that
We've got Alabama. We've got Texas. We've got
Arizona could do it too.
Yeah, Arizona.
Well, Arizona already got fire and heat because,
That's
it's
fair.
a hot
No,
place
yeah.
over there.
Arizona is as someone who's been
You
there,
just put
it's
it
quite
there.
the
Alaska is obviously the counterpart to Arizona with ice and cold because it's Alaska. It's known for ice.
I
I
am
think
curious.
Alaska is actually one of the states known for oil, though.
It is. As someone who just read an environmental book about the burning strait and how we've murdered that in Alaska between America and Russia taking over that area, yes, the answer is yes.
Well, I could
Yeah,
also just
they
call
actually-
every U.S. I could name every demon realm an oil realm because all of them use oil, but I'm trying to make all 50 of them an original.
Mm,
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, a lot of states carry, like, the whole Western sort of feel, like, with cowboy hats and stuff. A lot of them drill oil. A lot of them rely mostly on, like, solar and wind power. A lot of them are known for growing crops and corn and stuff. Like, a lot of the states are very similar to each other.
it's almost as
Yeah,
if we're
so-
all in the
Beaches.
same country.
Yeah!
Yeah, that's the thing. I can give a lot of things I've chosen to a lot of different states. I'm aware that a few topics I had chosen had been moved around the states. Like, one went, I think, from Michigan. No, not Michigan. No. Somewhere in the northeast to a bit more in the middle.
Do you have one for like coal production? Because my first thought's always Pennsylvania, because tis the mining state.
I don't really
that
have.
what's unique about Pennsylvania?
It is.
I don't
we had
really have-
all the coal mining.
I
Pennsylvania
did.
always-
Well, a lot of states produce coal, but like coal producing, that is usually that kind of fits under Texas with the oil environment.
Oh, so you just have like that as
urination.
yeah.
Well, what if instead of leaning into like the environment thing, like something like the coal mining, what if instead it was more of an enslavement camp where people are just being forced to mine?
Well, I'm sorry.
Well-
Slavery belongs in the South. No, it don't.
But also you're trying to make
Texas
this
is
help.
South, right?
I know I'm gonna get so much heat. I'm well aware that slavery occurred in the North as well as in the South. That was just a joke. I'm aware of it. I'm very
To be
aware
honest,
of
I
it.
have a state. I have a state for slavery. It's called Kansas.
Kansas. Why?
Yeah, it's because of the Kansas-Nebraska Act. It was one of the historical events leading to the American Civil War. It was something about keeping
Ah.
slaves that escaped from the South, bringing them back to the South. So I felt that was a good enough reason to give them the slavery as a theme.
That's so. That's
I mean, there are
that's
a lot of states doing similar things where
Yeah.
It's the
there's a lot
entire
of states
South. I'm
trying
not
really
going to
desperately
give
to
the
free
entire
slaves.
half of the U.S. the slavery.
But the
Fair.
problem is there's so many states that were saying free the slaves, and there were so many that were saying keep the slaves.
And there are a lot
and-
of neutral.
Yeah, there were some that were more neutral. Like there were so many laws and acts and stuff put in place over slavery that it's really hard to attribute it to any one state.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. Like, I'm not saying Kansas is the worst offender in slavery. It's just that I already picked a lot of different topics for a lot of different southern states, and this was one of the remaining. So I googled remaining states I had. So I googled around and found that state was the one of the. Like, what else could I choose for Kansas?
That's
Not many
my
people
thought,
know.
to be honest. Kansas is just. I've never stayed in Kansas, but I've driven in Kansas. And when you drive for 4 hours through a state, and you get excited when you see a tumbleweed, because at least it's something, it's sad. No offense to the people
I
living in
think of
Kansas, but I
Twister.
couldn't do it. Twisters, that's true. Kansas does have twisters. I love the dynamic between like Kansas and Colorado, because I was driving from Kansas to Colorado, and you're like driving through this Kansas, and then all of a sudden, like it's like instant, you just see the Colorado mountains appear, and you just sit there going, wow, the contrast. It's incredible.
Oh, yeah. But, well, actually, when driving through those states, approximately in the middle, maybe a bit more north, how many cornfields have you seen?
Kansas, I saw none, but I think we were also kind of off season for it.
Yeah.
So that didn't help.
because
I think when I think cornfields, I think Indiana, because I used to live in Indiana, and there were so many cornfields in Indiana. I don't think
Yeah.
that's what they're known for, but my goodness, was there a lot of cornfields.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of those states around that area are known for corn. Like, even
Yeah.
I'm aware of that. So, I actually gave the Demon Realm of Plants to Iowa because there's corn there.
They're also known for potatoes. Oh, that's
Well,
Idaho.
yeah, I gave that one to Idaho because one of
Yeah.
you convinced me to turn Idaho into a potato realm. I don't know what to
It
do
has-
with that.
It has to be potatoes. That's what they're
Yeah.
known for.
We love
Like-
potatoes.
I mean, you can do a lot of things with a Demon Realm for plants or Demon Realm for fire. A Demon Realm for potatoes is a little small.
Okay,
No,
wait,
hold on.
You could
We-
do a demon round for like roots or something, because potatoes are technically just roots.
I'm just keeping it as potato because I already shared that to my D&D group. I thought it's funny.
We can recycle a world that we created a long time ago where there's giant flying narwhals that
Oh
throw
my god,
potatoes at you.
no, they don't need
Excuse me,
narwhals.
what now?
We don't need the wish granting narwhals throwing potatoes. So it was one person inside a wish granting narwhal, and that doesn't count.
Did that person come from Idaho?
That was throwing the narwhals. All of them were throwing potatoes.
Were they?
The one person inside the narwhal was
Oh, it was the
poisoning
carrots.
the carrots.
Yeah, it was carrots. My bad. Look, it's been a while. That was like one of our like earliest worlds.
It was.
so
Sounds like
long
fun.
ago. It was.
It was one of the best.
Shh, don't make it sound like we peaked early. That's sad.
Well, there are a lot of other jokes you make. It's not like you've peaked anywhere because it's all bad humor.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. My humor is worse.
Oh, you gotta keep things lively.
Anyway,
Well,
so,
okay. Lively. Let's see. What state is the best for that?
Lively.
How about treason and betrayal?
Oh.
treason and betrayal. I don't know if there's any states that are stereotypically known for being treacherous.
Which was the first state to segregate during the Civil War? I don't remember which one was first.
Oh, that's South Carolina.
There we go.
But that's not the state I was looking for because that's the state of civil war itself. For that exact reason.
True. Like, it literally was like half the state was like, actually, we disagree, and they just split.
Well, that's West Virginia.
That's a lot. Honestly, I think a lot of places do that.
Like, what? But because of that West Virginia split from Virginia, that's the reason that they're the trickery and deception. I mean, treason and betrayal state.
Okay. I guess that makes sense.
But I mean, it's West Virginia. I don't know what else to put for there because again, it's not one of the states more known.
I'm curious. What
Because
did you do for Rhode Island?
Rhode Island. That was just being small.
Being small.
It's
Because
the
it's
place
small
for all the
states.
claustrophobic people.
A place for.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. If people die, they go to Rhode Island.
Wow.
Well, if you're being claustrophobic, you could also be sent to New Jersey, because I gave that one density as a theme, because it's
Density?
the most
How does-
dense state
It's for the
population.
people with social anxiety.
How does the realm of density even work?
I don't know.
Social
But,
anxiety.
but there's a reason it's New Jersey. It's because the old Jersey collapsed into a black hole.
Oh, so what's your reason for New York?
New York is actually the one I gave to the Knights, because it's an unsleeping city. Yes, I'm aware the state is not the city, but come on, let's just not do that, because it's night. I think what I chose for that reason for new is because, hey, the night keeps recycling itself because sometimes it's become day.
Okay,
It probably
but what
means
about-
that Arizona turns into the sun a few times to burn away New York, but that's a thing.
So New Mexico.
Okay. Yeah, we have multiple states with new in the name.
New Mexico, that's because the old Mexico died.
It just
Because
died.
I gave New Mexican skeletons because another thing I forgot to mention is that one of my players plays as a vampire who wants to kill other vampires. It's a whole thing. I chose that his vampire from West Virginia for that reason. He betrays the other vampires. But I already had made one that can turn into a bone devil. So I thought, hey, I need a skeleton realm. I thought, hey, skeletons and deserts are in some stories a thing, like that you can find giant skeletons in the desert. And New Mexico has a desert, so it's kind of fit.
Okay. Very important question. New Hampshire.
Oh, New Hampshire. That's to be honest the state I am. I don't know why. I for somehow gave it the knowledge that I gave that a theme knowledge.
New Hampshire.
Because it's one of the smartest states.
Is it?
But for some reason I thought there was a university there, but I think that was Massachusetts, so I kind of messed up there.
Yeah, I know nothing about New Hampshire.
I don't know. When I think
unnamed state, so the theme I gave it was the link to a different state.
I think of like coming up with my own. I think of like Arizona and giant birds, because they have the myth there of they have multiple like big bird myths in Arizona.
Oh yeah, and the state and the capital of New Mexico is Phoenix, and you have the phoenix, which is a flaming bird. So that also makes sense.
Yeah,
So
Arizona has this really cool rock area where like I think it was a rock, like an ROC. That bird like led the native people to the lands and perched on this mountain. So it's a sacred mountain. You're not allowed to climb or hike around it. Because it led them to Arizona and they made their tribe there. Which is a cool story.
Oh, that's
Yeah. So like giant demon birds come to mind when I think of Arizona as like a cool demon realm.
well,
I mean, at that point, I think like giant demon birds that swoop down and feast on your flesh.
Well, the rocks are known to carry off people and eat them whole, so...
but that's for me a reason to not go to the state of Washington, because I gave those the demon birds.
Why does Washington have demon birds?
Why? Washington's known for the eagle.
Well, not in reality that they have demon birds, but like in my world. Because Boeing, which makes a lot of aircraft, has its main testing facility in Oregon. No, not Oregon, Washington. That's a different state. Seattle, Washington. So I thought that was a good enough reason to give it air, because what else for Washington again?
So, out of curiosity, did you give, like, Washington, D.C. its own separate thing? Or did you just not consider it?
I'm aware that there's a sort of funky 51st state in the Columbia region.
Yeah.
But I decided not to.
Fair.
Yeah, it's intentionally shared. We have Washington, which is intentionally shared between 4 different states.
Because it's the politician district.
I found that out later, but I had to keep it with the 50 original states and one exception because I felt like it, but that's a thing.
Exception? Like one of our territories things?
Oh, yeah, one of the territories. Actually, 2 of them.
Oh, which ones?
Because I felt like it for a character, I thought it would be fun. Like, hey, if there's one vampire that's just secluded and neglected, so I decided to give that to 2 separate of the U.S. territories, which is sort of the 51st demon realm here. I know there are different territories, but I got Guam because it's the furthest away from the entirety of the U.S.
Interesting.
Because, hey, it's more close to Japan and Korea and stuff, and not the US. The other, that's why it's secluded. But neglected was Puerto Rico, because I'm pretty sure there's just some stereotypes of the US, of the Americans that don't even know Puerto Rico is controlled by Americans.
Fair enough. Honestly, I feel like a lot of Americans have no idea just how much extra stuff we have outside, like, the 50 states.
Yeah.
Because we got a lot, and no one thinks about it. We don't talk about it.
Yeah. But, like, I'm sure you're already aware, a lot of these states are just split decisions where I'm looking at a state, think of something that might fit them, and think, yeah, sure, that's a good idea. Like, you already showed me that Texas has a lot more things than just oil, but I chose oil.
There's so much.
Texas is its own cultural phenomenon.
We joke that if there were any 2 states that would become their own countries, it would be Texas and California. They would just... But we also joke that California will split off into the ocean before that happens. So,
The Cascadian region, I suppose.
but so will Florida. Florida won't become its own state. It will also just break off into the ocean at one point.
To be honest, at first my joke was going to be that the demon realm of Florida would just be Florida. Yeah, it was going to be a bit too hard to do, so I just chose swamps because of the Everglades.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, your old-fashioned crocodile and alligator.
Yeah.
Can't forget
think
about
though,
the alligator.
I think though, like, an amusement demon realm would have been fun, like with demon roller coasters and stuff like that, because that's another thing Florida's really known for.
Disneyland.
Disneyland and Universal's there, and they've got a few others, like big entertainment industries.
Don't they have a Legoland?
They have a Legoland.
Isn't that Denmark? Well, I
Legoland
suppose you
has
know.
a few locations.
Legoland has a lot of locations.
You got your own.
Yeah. Most countries have like their own Disneyland or world. America's special, and we have 2. But also, we big.
Well, we have to go to France for that.
Yeah, but guess what? Your drive to France is probably quicker than mine to the one in California.
Yeah,
So-
losers.
We just live in a very
Imagine
big
being a
country.
big country.
Imagine getting to vacation in your own country. What a mind-blowing idea.
It's not like I've done that for several years.
We have everything we need in America, thank you. We're just very bad at utilizing it. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These te-
There's a reason you're the demon realms now.
the United States is just so big that Texas alone is bigger than like most European countries.
Yeah, I think some of the smaller states, well, not states like Rhode Island and stuff on the East Coast, are bigger than several of the countries around me.
Yeah.
Really, Rhode Island is bigger than a lot of countries.
Some. I wouldn't
Well-
say a lot, but some.
I'm not going to look up the specifications now because that's going to take very long.
I know. I remember watching like a video where someone was so it was a British person was complaining that someone said where they lived was close to London, and then an American person hopped in and said, "So you say you live 2 hours away from London? Fun fact: in America, that is close to a place. That's very close to a place. In fact, some of us will drive an hour and a half just to go to a restaurant we like because we can." Some of us have to drive an hour just to buy groceries, because we live in a very big country. If you're 2 hours away from London in America talk, that means you're close to London. Yeah, it was a whole thing. It was really funny.
Yeah, you can drive for 11 hours in Texas and still,
be in Texas.
Is that because you drive in circles or?
No, you
Straight
drive in a
line.
straight line.
I'm joking. I'm aware that
It's-
Texas is big.
I drove in a straight line through Kansas, and it took me 4 hours. In order to get to my parents this Thanksgiving, we still live in the same country, but I will be driving 13 and a half hours from my brother's. And my brother lives 4 hours away from me, meaning to get to my family, it is going to take me 20 hours of driving. I have to spend nearly
Oh,
a day
no,
of driving to get to see my family. And they are in the, like, I'm at one of the edges, and they're in the middle of the country. Imagine if we were on opposite ends of the country. Oh, wait, I've done that drive. It takes you over 2 days to do that drive. From one end of the country to the other.
That sounds like a very long trip. Oh wait, that's
It was, we
what
didn't.
you explained this.
Yeah. We did it in 2 months. I've
Yeah,
done
I
a trip from
definitely
one end to
have
the
done-
other in 2 months. I would not recommend. But I mean, I had a good time, so maybe go do it. But also, it was long.
Yeah, well, like I don't think I have a demon realm of long distances except for maybe the seclusion one, but like there isn't one where you just have to drive 20 minutes to 20 minutes is slow. 20 hours to go to a grocery shop because also.
I would give that to Kansas, honestly.
D&D campaign. I'm not going to do the worst of everything.
I can say the longest drive I've ever experienced was the 4-hour drive in Kansas. It was awful. It's my least favorite drive to this day. I'll take the mountains of Colorado over
I'm pretty sure.
the boringness of Kansas any day.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't even take 4 hours to get from one end to my country to the other end of my country. Like,
Then your country is smaller than Kansas.
And
Mind
that's
you, I
the
think we
secret
were
route,
going at
because
an angle, but
March at
still.
11 hours, which I think is also just like, hey, that for the bigger countries, what you take to get across the country. Like, I'm talking about a small country that's not even your small 4-hour trip.
Yeah, but you guys also have better public transportation, so that also helps.
But that's also because, well, yeah, it's better public transportation, but it's also sometimes because we're smaller.
Yeah, but also America's too big for the public transportation that Europe has, and people need to realize that. We get like all this hate of like
Well,
just get public transport, and
there
I'm
are-
like, who's gonna put a train between this random no one talks about it town in Kansas, all the way to and like connect that to all the towns in Kansas? Like no one's gonna do that. It's too expensive and you pointless. And they'd be doing that drive. What the bus will go through like once every 2 months. No, people have to drive. I'm sorry. It's the only way America functions.
Well, it also depends on where you are in America specifically.
Sure.
That's another story.
You can have local public transportation. Like in cities, we have subways and stuff, but
Yeah.
that's about it.
Yeah, like even
can't
where I
have,
live now, a bus shows up to my town, my current town I live, like once a day. I think it's a small, but that's because the state I live is is one of the better ones for public transport, and even then, it's just like getting times of how to get to places and stuff. I also don't know where the bus stop is in my town. I just see the bus go by and it has the name of my town on it, so I know it stops somewhere, but I have zero clue where. And it could take me back to school, but because it only shows up once, it can't return me back from my school.
Yeah, that's
So I have to drive.
annoying.
Yeah. So I have to drive to school, which is 30 minutes away, and then I'm an hour away from work. I'm an hour away from the closest Walmart.
Something I was wondering about was Hawaii.
Mm.
Hawaii
Oh.
has a lot of very distinct, I want to say like aesthetics to it and cultural things to it. But then there was one thing that I was wondering about, which is, did you decide to make Hawaii the place of social isolation because it is isolated from the rest of the country?
Well, no, because one, I already said seclusion that was for Puerto Guam, specifically Guam. But also because Hawaii was one of the first states I chosen, because that's the ocean demon realm.
Mm.
Because you know me, I like my oceans because I like battleships.
Yeah. I understand.
And ocean monsters are pretty cool for a D&D campaign, so having a ocean realm for demons is that can lead to some pretty cool adventure. Like, hey, Kraken
That
from
works.
Hawaii unleashed on the real.
That works. Ocean demon people, they sound cool.
Yeah.
To be honest, I have something like 5 states that have something to do with water.
Oh, wait, let me see if I can name them. Well, Florida
Okay,
you
go
said was
ahead.
swamp, so that would obviously be one.
Yeah, okay, that's also one of the 5, yes.
So then we got Hawaii. I'm assuming. Did you do something with the Finger Lakes?
The Finger Legs?
Lakes.
Oh, yeah. That's I eventually chose that's Wisconsin because that was one of the few states I had left in near the end, and it was next to the lakes. And where I could choose
Interesting that you
Michigan
gave it to
or
us.
Minnesota, but they already got taken with other things. So Wisconsin got the lakes, indeed. And the other 2?
Is Mississippi
I'm
one
betting
because
you
of the
can name one.
Mississippi River?
Well, Mississippi is indeed the one with the river.
Ah!
The fifth one you're not going to guess because it's an obscure reference to something I know. It's the state of sunken wrecks because I thought that would be fun with treasure hunting and stuff. It's Oklahoma. It's not even next to the ocean.
How is it associated with that?
It's
How
a
did
very
that
obscure
happen?
reference. The USS Oklahoma was a battleship and one of the only 2 that was sunk during Pearl Harbor that remained sunk for the rest of the war. The other being Arizona, which went explosion.
Yep.
But they eventually did get it back up to the water, tried to bring it to the US so it could be scrapped, but in a storm it sank again, and it has never been found.
It's missing in action. Yeah, no, I would have never have guessed Oklahoma as one of the ones.
Yeah, so it sounded like the best place to get the wrecks. But like, I knew you were not going to guess it because it's a battleship knowledge, and I'm supposed to know that, not specifically you.
Out of curiosity, what did you end up going with Alabama? Because I know we were like discussing that in our PCP for a while and making a lot of insensitive jokes about Alabama. So what did you end up going with?
Incest.
Okay, that's. Well, I was just wondering if you did go there.
Oh my!
Well, it's more elaborate than incest, but I'm not going to talk about it because
we're a PG. Yeah, we're not PG. Well, actually, what rating would we give ours? I wouldn't say we're a PG
I don't know. We
podcast,
can
but
play
we're
dark
definitely.
sometime.
It's dark humor, but I'm not supposed to. It's not that much of an adult show.
Yeah, I think people
Maybe
can imagine their own
14.
thing. I was looking 13.
We're usually people.
The issue is that podcast sites, they only let you do like your clean or explicit, and there's no like in between. And we're not
I think
explicit
we're clean.
because we don't curse ever. And our topics
We
are
don't
usually pretty
curse.
lighthearted. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I always click clean because technically we are, but we do talk about some dark and depressing stuff and things a lot.
Yeah.
But
That's
not enough to be
okay.
explicit. I'm trying to think like what states have we missed
Well,
because there's a lot of
I
them.
do have a state for guns, which is a very US thing to have.
That would also have worked for Texas.
Hmm?
Texas loves their guns.
Texas is the place where they passed a bill where they basically legalized all weapons. And now there's a lot of people in Texas where it's not uncommon to see people walking down the street with like a shotgun strapped to their back now.
Yeah, I'm aware, but how surprised would you be when I say that I gave Montana the gun realm?
Not that surprised.
Why Montana? Tennessee would also work. Tennessee allows
But
pretty much any weapon.
Tennessee's music, right, or something. It's got to be about the
Yeah,
music.
Yeah, Tennessee's
When I
music.
asked
Tennessee's got
you
for
can't
every
do-
private to help me with stuff, you already convinced me that Tennessee would be music.
Yeah, no, you can't make it.
Yes,
I
that
can
was
see
one of the
Montana
last
being
things I
the
was
guns. I could also see
Yeah,
Montana being like demon horses or ranching, which
Well,
is different
yeah,
from the cowboy motif.
maybe.
They're associated, but they're different.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna explain this one. At first it was forgotten weapons, but eventually I just changed it to weapons in general because it would be more general, so it would be easier to work with. So in my world, if there's a gruesome weapon made for the first time, like the sword, the first gun, then it would come from a demon from Montana. But the forgotten weapons, that's a hint towards another battleship.
Of course.
It's the USS Montana, which actually was the only US state to not have a battleship named after it, because every time the US tried to do something with a US battleship, it either got stopped because they stopped work on the battleship due to a naval treaty restricting battleships, or because World War II had started and they realized aircraft carriers were more useful. So that's why I chose Montana.
Interesting. I'm noticing all of this is associated with battleships.
Yeah, there's a lot of battleship.
It's
Maine,
America
I chose-
Demon Wells based off of battleships.
Yes, give me battleship. Like, I gave the state of Maine war justification because at the start of the 20th century, the USS Maine sank in the Spanish colonial harbor, and the US used that for justification to start a war with Spain, even though there's a chance it might not even have been Spain that sunk the battleship.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know what I would
Yeah.
have given Maine, other than I think moose. I think a lot of. I think snow too.
A lot of animals. Well, snow was already Alaska, and I think Alaska deserves it
Foresting.
more.
Maine is known for its deforesting. Deforesting is a big thing in Maine.
Again, that's a lot more similar to the environmental ruination I gave to Texas. So as you can
That's
see,
the
there
one
are
we
a lot
all
of
disagree with. Is
different
the Texas ones. We're like, yeah, incest,
How
yeah,
many
all
is
those are fine, but Texas, nah.
I think I can give every state a theme to Texas if I think hard enough.
I'm sure Texas is its own thing, but I think this is where we're gonna end it, just because we're running.
I'm gonna end it with a fun one,
Okay.
because I thought it'd be fun to I realized the Boston Tea Party existed, so
Yeah.
at first I gave Massachusetts the theme of tea. It was just tea, But eventually I
poisonous
simply
tea?
changed it to revolutions because, hey, that's how the American Revolution started. But like, hey,
yeah.
when introduced, I'm going to make sure that at any demons that come from Massachusetts, while revolutionary, they also drink a lot of tea.
Which is ironic, considering it was the not drinking tea that was the important part.
You can drink the ocean.
Okay, and that's where we're gonna end it. Well, thank you for joining us, GF, and discussing your D&D world.
You
A
can
fun thing
bring
for
me back
salty
anytime.
tea.
Got a lot of weird knowledge.
yeah, a fun thing for people. If you're listening to something in which you can leave comments, you can name off states and what you think their demon thing should be, because that could be fun to read.
And I'll be in the comments too. So if you just ask fun, hey, I'm from Kentucky. What's Kentucky? Answer: it's KFC.
Oh, good.
Hey,
And on that wonderful note, we're gonna end the podcast. And
Thank
we
you for
will.
joining.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining, GF.
Yeah, we'll be back next week or the week after, because Thanksgiving, with another random prompt and another fun world to create. So see you all then. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.